the betrayal at Beacon Hill. I'm Stephanie Matthews, 30 years old, standing at my parents' door with a homemade pecan pie, my father's favorite, clutching it like a peace offering I desperately hoped would mend what had been broken between us. The warm November sun felt like a cruel joke as I rang the doorbell of the Beacon Hill brownstone where I'd grown up, where I'd learned what it meant to be a Matthews, perfect, polished, and obedient. When the heavy wooden door swung open, both my parents stood there like sentinels guarding a fortress. Their faces wore expressions I'd never seen before, not anger, not disappointment, but something far worse, cold, calculated indifference. "You're not invited," my father said, his voice flat and emotionless, as if he were dismissing a door-to-door salesman rather than his own daughter. Through the gap between their bodies, I could see asterisk everything. The dining room table set with our family china. The autumn centerpiece my mother created every year. Uncle William raising a scotch to his lips. My sister Audrey in an elegant burgundy dress, looking away the moment our eyes met. And there, sitting in my asterisk seat, the chair where I'd sat every Thanksgiving for 30 years, was Jennifer. Jennifer Adams, my best friend since college. The woman I'd trusted with every secret, every fear, every dream. She wouldn't meet my eyes either. "But I brought pie," I whispered stupidly, holding it up like a child offering a broken toy, hoping it could somehow fix everything. "Dad's favorite." My mother's perfectly manicured fingers tightened on the doorframe. Even in this moment of cruelty, she maintained her composure, her pearl gray cocktail dress and diamond earrings reflecting the dying afternoon light. "That won't be necessary, Stephanie. We have dessert arranged." The door began to close. "Wait, can I at least ask why?" My voice cracked, pride warring with desperation. My mother leaned forward slightly, her whisper cutting deeper than any shout could have. "Your choices have consequences, Stephanie. You should have thought about that before you betrayed this family." The door shut with a finality that echoed through my chest like a gunshot. I stood there, abandoned on those stone steps where I'd posed for countless family photographs, where I'd waited nervously for prom dates, where I'd returned home from college breaks, holding a pie no one wanted and fighting back tears that would give them the satisfaction of knowing they'd broken me. Through the beveled glass, I heard the conversation resume inside. Someone turned up the classical music. Laughter drifted out, muffled but unmistakable. They were celebrating, without me, despite me. I turned and walked back to my car, each step feeling like I was wading through water. Inside my vehicle, I carefully placed the rejected pie on the passenger seat and gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Through the bay window of my childhood home, I could see them gathering around the table, pulling out chairs, raising glasses. A banner hung on the wall behind my father's chair, gold lettering proclaiming, "Family first." The irony nearly made me laugh. Family first, unless that family member refused to stay silent about financial fraud. Unless that family member valued integrity over image. Unless that family member was me. #6 months earlier. The fractures had started long before that Thanksgiving rejection, though I'd been too loyal, too desperate to belong, to see them clearly. I'd worked at Matthews Investment Group for 5 years, carving out a role in marketing and client relations, despite my father's barely concealed disappointment that I hadn't pursued real business like Audrey. Harold Matthews had built his financial empire on a reputation for integrity and conservative, reliable returns. Boston's old money trusted him implicitly. I'd trusted him too, until the day I didn't. It was a routine task, preparing materials for a client presentation, when I noticed irregularities in several high-profile accounts. Withdrawal patterns that didn't match typical investment behavior. Returns that seemed too consistent, too perfect, especially during market downturns. Transfers to offshore entities with vague designations and minimal documentation. When I brought my concerns to my father, his reaction was swift and vicious. "Those accounts are handled personally by me," he'd snapped, literally snatching the files from my hands. His face had flushed red, veins visible at his temples. Some matters are beyond your understanding, Stephanie. Stick to your brochures and leave the asterisk real business to those qualified to handle it. That night, I'd called Jennifer, seeking comfort and counsel from the friend I'd trusted for a decade. Your dad's under a lot of pressure, she'd soothed over wine at our favorite bistro. These wealthy clients are demanding. Sometimes the accounting looks weird because of tax strategies and offshore structures. You're probably reading too much into it. Her reassurance had felt genuine. I'd wanted so badly to believe her. But the restrictions began immediately after that confrontation. My access to certain client files was revoked without explanation. Meetings I'd previously led were suddenly handled by Audrey. Questions about company practices were met with dismissal or hostility. Jennifer had stayed close through it all, listening to my frustrations, encouraging me to give it time, suggesting I was overreacting to normal family business tensions. I'd had no idea she was reporting every word back to my father. The final breaking point came when I landed Berkshire Development, a major client my father had been pursuing for years. Instead of celebration, my success triggered interrogation. How exactly did you convince Thomas Berkshire to sign with us? My father had demanded, his tone accusatory. What did you promise him? What did you tell him about our other accounts? The implication was clear. He suspected I'd used inside information about the firm's questionable practices to win the client's trust by promising transparency. I created a comprehensive marketing strategy tailored to his needs, I'd replied, stunned and hurt. I did my asterisk job. Your job is to support this family's interests, not build your personal portfolio, he'd shot back. 2 weeks later, I resigned and launched my own marketing consultancy, taking my hard-earned client relationships with me, all legitimate, all documented, all completely within my legal rights. The family's reaction was immediate and brutal. My mother stopped answering my calls. Audrey sent a scathing email accusing me of betraying everything this family stands for. My father threatened legal action for client poaching, though his lawyers quietly advised him he had no case. Only my cousin Emma maintained contact, meeting me for secret coffee dates and providing glimpses into the family's increasingly paranoid discussions about me. They talk about you like you're the enemy now, she'd confided, stirring her latte nervously. Something big is happening at the company, everyone's on edge, and Jennifer, she'd trailed off, looking uncomfortable. What about Jennifer? She's there constantly now. At family dinners, at the office, even at the lake house. It's like she's replaced you. That revelation had stung, but I'd convinced myself that Jennifer was just being a good friend to my family during a difficult time. After all, she'd worked at the firm for years. Of course, she'd maintain those relationships. I'd been so naive, so pathetically desperate to believe the best in people who were actively conspiring against me. The morning of betrayal. Thanksgiving morning had dawned with unseasonable warmth and golden sunshine streaming through my Cambridge apartment windows. I'd woken early, determined to make peace with my family despite our estrangement. The pecan pie had taken hours to perfect, my grandmother's recipe, the one my father requested every year. I'd worn the forest green cashmere sweater my mother had once complimented, styled my hair the conservative way she preferred, applied minimal makeup to avoid her criticism about looking cheap. Every single choice had been calculated to smooth my path back into their good graces. I'd even rehearsed conversation starters during the drive to Beacon Hill. I'd ask Audrey about her London business trip. I'd compliment Mother's table setting. I'd discuss the Patriots with Uncle William. I'd be perfect asterisk, everything they'd always demanded. When I'd called my mother the week before to confirm details, her response had been cool but not unusual. The usual time, dear, 2:00, and please wear something appropriate this year. I'd interpreted her tone as typical maternal criticism, not as the warning it actually was, not as confirmation that I was walking into an ambush. As I'd approached the brownstone, I'd noticed the unusual number of cars parked nearby. Jennifer's blue Audi, Uncle William's Mercedes, my sister's Range Rover, vehicles belonging to family friends and business associates. Through the tall windows, I could see movement, candlelight, the warm glow of what should have been my homecoming. I'd climbed those stone steps with my heart pounding, clutching my peace offerings, still believing that family love was unconditional. Still believing that surely, surely, they wouldn't exclude me from Thanksgiving. The doorbell had barely finished ringing when the laughter inside stopped abruptly. I'd heard hushed voices, urgent whispers, footsteps approaching with purpose. When that door opened and I saw their faces, my parents standing united in rejection, my sister visible behind them, Jennifer sitting in my place, all of them knowing what was about to happen, the betrayal had crashed over me like a physical wave. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a misunderstanding. They had planned this, orchestrated it, invited everyone else and deliberately excluded me, then stood at the door to deliver the humiliation in person. "You're not invited." 4 words that shattered 30 years of family identity. The truth unleashed. I'd driven away from Beacon Hill in a daze, my hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. The Charles River stretched before me, rowers gliding across its surface with peaceful precision, a stark contrast to the chaos raging inside me. In that moment, sitting in my parked car with an unwanted pie and unopened wine, something crystallized in my mind. 8 months ago, before I'd resigned, I'd copied files from the company's server. Not out of malice, but out of instinct, the same instinct that had made me question those irregular account patterns in the first place. I'd hidden those documents away, trying to convince myself they were just insurance, that I'd never actually need them. But family loyalty had kept me silent, even after being pushed out, even after the hostility and accusations. Until that door closed in my face. I'd pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact I'd saved months ago. Michael Donovan, an old friend from law school who now worked for the Securities and Exchange Commission. We'd reconnected at an alumni event, and after a few glasses of wine, I'd confided my suspicions about the firm. "If you ever decide to review those files," he'd said seriously, "call me immediately. Some matters go beyond family loyalty." My finger had hovered over his contact for several seconds. This action would cross a line that could never be uncrossed. Once I shared this evidence, events would unfold that I couldn't stop or control. The image of my parents at that door, cold, dismissive, cruel had made the decision easy. Michael had answered on the 3rd ring, children's voices audible in the background. "Stephanie, happy Thanksgiving, is everything okay?" "No," I'd said, my voice steadier than I'd expected. "Remember those files I mentioned? I think it's time I showed them to you. How quickly can we meet?" The evidence. Back at my apartment, I'd changed out of my carefully chosen outfit, the one selected to please my mother, and put on comfortable jeans and a sweater. The rejected pie sat on my kitchen counter, a monument to my foolish hope. I'd poured myself wine and assembled a pathetic Thanksgiving meal from whatever was in my refrigerator. Cheese, crackers, deli turkey, grapes. Sitting alone at my small table, I'd raised my glass in a bitter toast. Happy Thanksgiving to me. Then the tears had come, years of suppressed emotion finally breaking free. I'd cried for the family I'd thought I had, for the friend who'd betrayed me, for the lonely path stretching before me. When the tears finally subsided, I'd felt something unexpected. Clarity. I'd been living in limbo for months, neither fully separated from my family nor truly independent. Today's rejection, brutal as it was, had severed those ties definitively. Now I needed to decide what came next. I'd retrieved the hidden documents from behind my bookshelf and spread them across my dining table. With nothing left to lose, I'd begun to methodically analyze what I'd copied. Account statements showed impossible consistency in returns, even during market crashes. Investment reports contained discrepancies between what was reported to clients and actual performance. Transfers to offshore entities had vague descriptions like investment reallocation, and portfolio restructuring. What had initially seemed like isolated anomalies gradually revealed themselves as components of a asterisk system asterisk, a deliberate, sophisticated fraud. My father, the paragon of financial integrity in Boston society, had been running a Ponzi scheme, using new client money to pay returns to existing clients while skimming profits for himself. And he hadn't been doing it alone. The emails, I discovered, made my blood run cold. Harold Matthews to Audrey Matthews, asterisk, Stephanie's access to the Ferguson and Williams accounts needs to be restricted. Her marketing role doesn't require this level of financial detail. Audrey Matthews to Harold Matthews, asterisk, already handled. Jennifer has helped redirect her attention to the new client presentations. Jennifer, my best friend. Her name appeared repeatedly in the email chains, always in contexts that made clear she'd been actively working asterisk against asterisk me. Jennifer Adams to Harold Matthews, asterisk, Stephanie mentioned concerns about the Osaka transfers. I deflected by emphasizing confidentiality protocols. Should we be worried? Harold Matthews to Jennifer Adams, asterisk, maintain normal relations with Stephanie while we assess the situation. We need to know exactly what she suspects and who she's spoken with. Reading those words felt like being stabbed repeatedly. Every coffee date, every phone call, every moment I'd trusted Jennifer with my doubts and fears, she'd been asterisk reporting on me, using our friendship as a surveillance tool. Harold Matthews to senior staff, asterisk, Jennifer will take over Stephanie's client relationships. Her loyalty has earned her this advancement. Loyalty, the word my father valued above all else, weaponized against his own daughter. But the deepest betrayal lay in a folder labeled personal. Inside were photos from social media, images I hadn't been tagged in, moments I hadn't been invited to witness. Jennifer and Audrey at charity galas, their body language suggesting intimacy beyond friendship. Jennifer and Audrey at the lake house, embracing in a way that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. Photos spanning back at least 2 years, long before my departure from the firm. My sister and my best friend, in a relationship. While Jennifer pretended to be asterisk my asterisk confidant, listening to me worry about Audrey's increasing hostility, offering theories about work stress and sibling rivalry. The calculated cruelty of it took my breath away. The point of no return. I'd spent hours that Thanksgiving night scanning documents, creating encrypted backups, organizing evidence by date and type of violation. The methodical work had helped steady my nerves while strengthening my resolve. Michael had called back around midnight. I couldn't wait until tomorrow, he'd admitted. I started looking into Matthew's investment group after your call. Stephanie, there are serious red flags. The patterns suggest systematic fraud going back at least 5 years. I know, I'd replied, my voice hollow. I'm looking at the evidence right now. There's something else, he'd continued. Yesterday, there was unusual activity. Your father transferred significant company ownership to your sister and someone named Jennifer Adams. And, he'd paused, there was activity in a trust fund registered to you. Substantial withdrawals requiring dual authorization. My trust fund, the one my grandparents had established, untouchable until I turned 35, just months away. They can't access that without my signature, I'd protested. Someone did, Michael had replied grimly. We'll need to investigate potential identity theft. Stephanie, I need to ask you directly. Are you prepared to formally submit this evidence? This will trigger an investigation that will almost certainly lead to charges against your family members. The question had hung between us. Despite everything, some small part of me still hesitated. These weren't just financial criminals. They were my family. My father, who'd taught me to ride a bike. My sister, who defended me from bullies in elementary school. My mother, who'd nursed me through childhood illnesses. But they were also the people who'd stood at that door and told me I wasn't welcome, who'd conspired behind my back, who'd stolen from my trust fund, who'd used my closest friendship as a means of surveillance. Yes, I'd said finally, I'll submit everything. I'd pressed send on multiple emails to Michael at the SEC, to Thomas Berkshire and other major investors, to regulatory authorities. The final message had gone to my cousin Emma. Things are about to change dramatically for the family. Be careful about your own investments and connections to the firm. Exactly 19 minutes later, my phone had lit up with a message from my father. What have you done? Hash the confrontation. They'd arrived at my apartment in a fury, all of them. My father, disheveled in a way I'd never seen. My mother, pale and rigid with fear disguised as outrage. Audrey, mascara streaking down her cheeks. And Jennifer, hanging back with an expression of abject misery. How could you do this to us? My father had exploded the moment I'd opened the door. To your own asterisk family, do you have any idea what you've done? I'd let them inside, not out of fear, but out of a strange desire to face them one final time with the truth laid bare. You need to retract everything immediately, my father had demanded. Call your contact at the SEC. Tell them it was a mistake. We can still contain this. Retract the truth, I'd asked, raising an eyebrow. Retract documented evidence of fraud, misappropriation of funds, and identity theft. My mother had tried a different approach, appealing to reputation, to social standing, to everything she'd spent decades building. Every charity board, every social connection, destroyed because you couldn't follow simple family loyalty. Was it loyalty when you accessed my trust fund without authorization? I'd countered. Was it loyalty when you excluded me from Thanksgiving while welcoming the woman who betrayed me? Audrey had finally spoken, her voice breaking. You don't understand the pressure. Dad needed certain returns to keep major clients. When the market turned in 2019, we had to make adjustments. It started small, just temporary reallocations. Then it grew. Don't say another word, Audrey, my father had snapped. She's probably recording this. Jennifer had stepped forward, tears streaming. Stephanie, please, this affects more people than just your family. There are employees who will lose everything. Clients whose finances will be ruined. You have no right to speak to me about anything, I'd interrupted coldly. You used our friendship to spy on me. You reported my every concern back to them, all while you were involved with my sister. Did you enjoy playing me for a fool? Her face had crumpled. It wasn't like that, not at first. Audrey and that happened later. I never meant to hurt you. Uncle William had slipped into the apartment then, bringing a warning. They're looking for someone to blame. They've decided it should be you. My father's expression had confirmed this. You were involved enough in these accounts to be implicated. If you cooperate now, we can protect you. Otherwise, our lawyers will present evidence of your involvement. Evidence you'd fabricate, I'd replied calmly. But that won't work. I documented my concerns and restricted access for months. Michael has the timeline. I was never a signatory on fraudulent transfers. So this is about some man, my father had sneered. You're destroying your family for an SEC boyfriend. This is about doing what's right, I'd countered. Something this family forgot long ago. They'd tried everything. Threats, bribes, emotional manipulation. My father had even offered me millions, my own division within the company, whatever I wanted. Name your price, he'd said bluntly. Everyone has one. I'd looked at him, truly looked at the man who'd raised me, now revealed as someone who believed everything and everyone could be bought. I already have what I need, I'd said quietly. The truth. Truth doesn't pay bills or maintain reputations, he'd scoffed. Truth is a luxury for people who don't understand how the world really works. I understand exactly how your world works, I'd replied, and I want no part of it. In the end, my father had delivered his final punishment. You're dead to us. After today, you're no longer a Matthews. I'd met his gaze steadily, unflinching. I stopped being a Matthews the moment you closed that door in my face. Now I need all of you to leave. One by one, they'd filed out. My father storming ahead. my mother pausing at the door with a look of mingled anger and loss. Audrey hesitating, seeming on the verge of saying something meaningful, then shaking her head and leaving in silence. Jennifer had been the last, whispering a final "I'm sorry" that echoed hollowly in the room. When the door closed behind them, I'd stood in the sudden silence, surrounded by the remnants of a makeshift Thanksgiving meal and scattered documents that had changed everything. The family I'd known was gone forever. But for the first time in my life, I was free. 1 year later. I stand in my kitchen now, arranging autumn flowers for my dining table. The aroma of roasting turkey and fresh-baked bread fills my new home, a comfortable Cambridge townhouse I purchased 6 months ago with money from my thriving consultancy. Through the archway, I can see the table set for 8 people, complete with place cards and handwritten gratitude notes at each setting. The past year unfolded in ways I never could have predicted. Matthew's investment group underwent complete restructuring after the investigation revealed systematic fraud affecting hundreds of clients. My father accepted a plea deal, full cooperation, significant financial penalties, house arrest instead of prison. His reputation lay in ruins, but he'd avoided the worst consequences by surrendering control to a court-appointed board. That board approached me 3 months after the scandal broke. "We need someone with the Matthews name who understands the business but wasn't implicated in the fraud," the new chairperson had explained. "Your reputation for ethics is exactly what we need." I'd accepted a position overseeing compliance and ethical practices. The irony of becoming the family's moral compass wasn't lost on me, but I'd embraced the opportunity to help make things right for defrauded clients. My relationships evolved unexpectedly. My mother retreated to the New Hampshire lake house, unable to forgive me for the social humiliation she'd endured. Her carefully constructed world had collapsed, and she couldn't bear to face what remained. But Audrey surprised me by reaching out 6 months ago. "I've been in therapy," she'd admitted over cautious coffee. "I needed to understand why I went along with everything, why I prioritized Dad's approval over basic ethics." Our relationship remained fragile, rebuilding slowly through monthly conversations that gradually became more honest. She'd found work at a small firm in Providence, starting over from a junior position, but finding satisfaction in straightforward, ethical work. Jennifer made several attempts to reconcile, sending letters explaining her perspective, apologizing for her betrayal. I'd eventually responded with formal forgiveness, but made clear our friendship couldn't be restored. Some breaches of trust are too profound to repair. Uncle William became an unexpected ally, using his legal expertise to protect innocent employees and clients from the fallout. "I enabled your father for too long," he'd confessed. "Standing by while questioning silently is its own form of complicity." Most surprisingly, Cousin Emma joined my consultancy, bringing financial expertise and a genuine ethical compass to our growing client base. "I always admired your courage," she'd told me. "Even before everything happened, I watched you chart your own course instead of following the prescribed Matthews path." The doorbell interrupts my reflections. Emma arrives first, carrying wine and homemade cranberry sauce. "Happy Thanksgiving, your first time hosting. How does it feel?" "Terrifying and wonderful," I admit with a laugh. "I have no idea if this turkey will be edible." "The food hardly matters," she replies wisely. "It's about creating a space where people feel valued for who they truly are." Over the next hour, my chosen family arrives. Michael and his wife Grace, Uncle William and his partner Robert, Bethany, my former assistant who left the family firm to join my consultancy. And finally, to my surprise, Audrey, arriving alone and carrying a pecan pie. "I remembered it was Dad's favorite," she says hesitantly. "But it's your favorite too, right?" The simple gesture, acknowledging our shared history while respecting our new beginning, brings unexpected tears to my eyes. "Yes," I manage. "Thank you for remembering." As we gather around my table, I look at faces connected not by obligation or shared DNA, but by choice and shared values. These relationships, built on respect and authenticity rather than expectation and performance, have become my true family. Before we eat, I say, raising my glass, I want to express gratitude for each of you. A year ago, I thought losing my family meant losing everything. Instead, it created space for something more genuine to grow. I've learned that family isn't defined by blood, but by who stands with you when standing beside you costs asterisk something. We share a moment of quiet appreciation before conversation and laughter resume. Later, enjoying coffee and dessert, I realize the painful rejection of last Thanksgiving was necessary asterisk. It broke the patterns that kept me tethered to toxic relationships and false values. The journey was excruciating, but it led me to a truth I might never have otherwise discovered. Creating authentic connections based on mutual respect brings deeper fulfillment than maintaining superficial relationships built on appearances and shared deception. This Thanksgiving, unlike any before, is genuine asterisk. From the slightly overcooked turkey to the mismatched borrowed chairs, from the heartfelt laughter to the comfortable silences. I no longer carry the Matthews name, with its weight of expectation and performance. Instead, I carry something far more valuable, the freedom to live according to my own principles, surrounded by people who value me for exactly who I am. The door that closed in my face last Thanksgiving didn't end my story. It freed me to write a new one,